I haven't made a video for a while from my car, but I thought I really wanted to get this message out. So I learned a lot from listening to Tom Barnett talk about actually saying we don't consent to what's going on against us. And it reminded me of something that my teacher said years ago. My teacher said, you know, if you're in a shopping centre and there's like a gossip magazine, you can actually speak to the soul of that magazine and say you don't agree with it. You don't agree with it, and you don't agree with it spreading lies. And then chant love, peace, harmony, for example, for it, or chant a mantra to it, give it love. It's very similar to what Tom's talking about, because consent is important. I'm understanding more now that consent's not just about the law and the legal system. I'm understanding through what the negative polarity beings do on this earth. It's all about trickery, which means they believe in reincarnation. They believe in karma. Okay, they believe in reincarnation too, but there has to be trick. That's why there's trickery. There's always a trickery. I watched this video that's got sent to me a number of times. A good video of the woman. She's an Irish woman who lives in Australia, and she's saying Australia are going to be facing challenging times. I agree with everything she's saying, but I got when you look at how they're setting up the camps and things like this, they have to get us to consent to it. Okay, so it sort of inspired me to do this video, because coming from a spiritual perspective, the Buddha's story came to me. Now, I won't go into the full Buddha's story to keep this video relatively short, but when the Buddha had tried punishing himself for, I think it was 11 years, he realized that he was no closer to enlightenment. So he restored his health, and he found out that balance was the key. Okay. Then he still never had the answers that he set out for, which was what is the way out of suffering. So when he'd restored his health, he sat under a Bodhi tree and he made a real sincere vow. And that vow was, to heaven and earth, I will stay here until I die, unless I get the answers, what I'm searching for, the way out of suffering. And he sat in a very, very real and serious meditation space, and he went deep. And he got tested by Mara. So Mara is the equivalent to the devil, okay? And Mara tested him with his daughters to bring up like desires, lust, and things like this in the Buddha. Now the Buddha, Master Shah shares the story, the Buddha was uplifted. There and then his soul stand was uplifted to an enlightened being, because his vow was so sincere, and he was gaining insight. Now, when he'd received this level of enlightenment, he was no longer a separate entity. He was no longer a separate being in the world. If he thought of the moon, right, he would experience what the moon was experiencing. The same with the trees around him. There was no separate self. He was one with everything. So when Mara was testing him, Mara was saying, your soul will be mine. And according to legend, the Buddha said, if you can find my soul, you can have it. Because he wasn't a separate soul at that point. He had reached universal enlightenment. He was one with everything. And he was checkmating Mara with no attachments, because Mara was trying to get him to respond, resist, or react. Okay, but there was no one there to react. He ended up becoming a mirror for Mara. Now, one of the final things, if you ever look at a statue of the Buddha, one hand is on his lap and one hand is down touching the earth. Now this is the important part, because Mara said to him, how do you think anyone will know what you're doing? No one's here. Who will ever know what you did? And he touched the earth, the Buddha, and the Buddha said, the earth is my witness. Okay, very important. Remember, he's not looking for another human being who can say this happened. He's one with everything. Everything is his witness. Life is his witness. The natural world, the stars are his witness. God is his witness. He touched the earth. He said, the earth is my witness. And Mara had nothing. And then Mara disappeared. Okay? And when he came out of that meditation, he could see in all directions. He'd reached ultimate enlightenment. And he stayed in the highest states of enlightenment for years, right? Until he was like nearly 90, I think. So why am I sharing that story? Because to some degree, I'm going to share a prayer that I've just wrote out that came to me today, that I suggest we do with our family and our kids and our communities. I think it's very important. But first, I'm going to share a few things, right? First one is the power of intention. So let's say I was to give someone a massage. Everything is made of Shen, Qi, Jing. Shen is information, Qi is energy, and Jing is matter. Okay. Now, if it's so funny because there's riot police have just pulled up next to me. It's just interesting the synchronicity with why they're here. So the power of intention. If I was to give someone a massage, let's say, the Jing, the matter, the physical part of my being is touching the physical part of their being. Okay. Now, is there an energetic transfer? Yes, there is. Okay. My energy is moving their energy. But what about intention? Intention, the intellect, the intelligent life behind energy and matter, the soul, is very important in what happens in that massage. Because if I am chanting a mantra saying, I despise you, right? Or you are this, that, and the other, something bad, you're going to feel the effects of that because my message is imprinting on you. And this is why Dr. Emoto's work is so vital. I listened to a podcast with a guy the other day, and he said he actually did the rice experiment. And he said, if you've never done it, he said, I recommend everyone does it. He said, because it is so real, right? So what he did was he got 3 pots of rice. He made some rice. You've all heard this experiment before. And he put them all from the same source, the same pot of rice. He put them all into individual containers and put them in the cupboard. He wrote love on one, I think I hate you on one, and then nothing on the other one. And every day at the same time, he'd set his watch. He would come, open up the cabinet, and he would give love, the same amount of love as best he could. I love you. I really appreciate you, right? To one of them. He would say, I hate you, with intention to the other one, and he'd ignore the third one. And he said within like 2 weeks, the one that had the love on it was like, looked as if it was good enough to eat. The one that had been given negativity and hatred was literally black with mold and just rotten away. And the other one was like in the middle of the two. Now, he said after that, he said, from that day on, I speak to my dog differently. I speak to my wife and my kid differently. He said, and I speak to everything differently. He believes that like Alzheimer's is because of the negative messages we put on ourselves and what other people put on us, because this goes for self-talk as well. But the intention's there. So this shows how powerful intention is. So in what I've learned from commerce is, if you don't not consent to something, you are consenting through no response. Okay, it's called assent, I think. So basically, the fact that you don't say anything means that you're consenting. Okay, so you have to say, I don't consent. Now, that is the power of intention. Intention has power. Another thing I wanted to touch on a little bit, after just mentioned intent, but is also the fact that the negative polarity beings which I have deep compassion for, because I know that because humans are good, okay, the only way they can keep their line of way of living going is through mind control and through trauma from birth. Okay, this is why it's ancestral, and this is why every time a new baby is born into those families, they have to jump on programming their consciousness from the second they're conceived. Okay, so we have to have compassion for these beings, but they have to work so hard at that because humans are naturally compassionate. But they believe in God. Okay, they believe in a benevolent, creative intelligence, a benevolent, creative God. They believe in that because the vow that these people in like the music industry make is to destroy what God made, and they destroy what God made by pushing and emphasizing and bigging up the ego, because the ego is separation consciousness. The ego is a consciousness that is separate from the whole. It's anti-life. So the more people become ego driven, the more the rap industry pushes F everybody else and just, it's all out for me, make money and, you know, take from other people. We are fundamentally, or they are fundamentally destroying what God made. The ego is the number one most powerful way to destroy what God made. So everything they do in their technology and everything is counter to what God or the natural laws or what nature does. Okay, nature supports life. Nature is in balance constantly, is in harmony, and all the things that they do are counter to that. So another thing I wanted to touch on, these are just things I want to express first, share with you first before I go into the prayer. Another thing is forgiveness. Okay, if you've had someone hurt you, or somebody you can't forgive, or you've hurt someone and they can't forgive you, that's just in this life. Okay, imagine how many people we've hurt and our ancestors have hurt, especially in the times throughout history we've been in. Okay, it's massive. So it is vitally important that we are humble enough to acknowledge the fact that we have created suffering, and every time we hurt one being, it creates a ripple. Okay, if I was to do something to skit someone when I was at school, and that gave them a complex, and they went on a dark path, or they hated humanity because of what I did, and then the people they're affecting are taking that into the world, it is literally like it multiplies beyond comprehension. And we may have planted many seeds in past lives. Okay, so we've created a lot of suffering, but at the same time we may have created a lot of good, which is doing the same thing. This is the entanglement of karma, cause and effect. So in this prayer we have to acknowledge, and we have to go deep into being sincere in asking for forgiveness, because love and forgiveness are the two keys on the spiritual journey. And we have to be able to forgive those that are harming us, that are creating suffering in the world, and acknowledge the possibility that if someone's hurt us in this life, we've done it to them. Therefore, we should be asking for forgiveness to those that have hurt us. Okay? Sometimes when I say this to people, they say such and such, I just can't, I'll never forgive him. Or I'll never forgive her, she or he did this to me. I say, ask them for forgiveness. It's straight away like, what? They did this to me. How can I ask them for forgiveness? I say, just reflect on the possibility that you're experiencing the karma that you wish that person gets for what they've done to you. You could be experiencing it through them because you've done it to them. And the light bulb comes on sometimes and they're just like, wow. And when they ask their soul for forgiveness, and they understand that this is a karmic entanglement, and if I don't heal it on both ends, we're doing it again. They really have breakthroughs. Okay, so I suggest trying this and becoming familiar with it. Write it down. It's a daily affirmation, it's a daily prayer, if you like. And get your family to say it together as a family. If you do a meditation group online or you do a meditation group in person, maybe start with this or finish with this. But get it out there, okay? So center yourself, we'll do that now. And just feel what this feels like. Remember the Buddha, as the earth is my witness, okay? So we're going to acknowledge that. So just focus your awareness on your breath. As God is my witness, as heaven is my witness, as the earth is my witness, as the natural world is my witness, I commit to bringing love, peace, harmony and balance to the natural world. I commit to support life and creation. As God is my witness, as heaven and earth and the natural world is my witness, I do not consent to man-made weather manipulation or anything that goes against God, creation, heaven and earth and the natural world. I do not consent to trickery and lies that goes against beings that goes against all beings' God-given rights to live in peace. I do not consent to anything that creates division from the whole. I sincerely ask for forgiveness for my past mistakes and those mistakes my ancestors have made in the past too. I forgive anyone and anything for their mistakes against me and my ancestors or against creation. I forgive them. May we all come together and assist in Wanling Runghe. Wanling Runghe means all souls join together as one. One is wholeness, unity, the Tao, the source, God. So just feel that. And every day you can say that in your heart. You can say, if you learn it off by heart, you can add to it, okay? You can make your own version of that. But whatever it is, say it with your family and put it out into the field. Say it to the skies. Say it to heaven, which is the spiritual world where we come from. The soul, when it dies, the body dies, the soul returns to the soul world. But the body returns to the earth. So say it to the earth. They're not separate. Everything that is alive, that is moving, is a spirit using earth as an experience. Okay? So we acknowledge that as heaven, the natural world, the earth, and God as my witness. I commit to bringing love, peace, harmony, balance, and support creation. It's a very powerful statement. And we align with that then, because we're putting our soul, heart, mind, energy, and matter towards that. We're then supported. We're moving with creation, with God. As God is my witness, as heaven, the spiritual world, earth, and the natural world is my witness, I do not consent to lies, trickery, weather manipulation, or anything that creates division and goes against life and the natural creation and the natural order of things. I do not consent to that. That is powerful. Imagine you have a kid that is 5 years of age that grows up their whole life living by that. And then you can finish or start with singing a mantra, love, peace, harmony. I go on about love, peace, harmony all the time. It's the solution. 1.5 billion people chanting, I love my heart and soul, acknowledging you, acknowledging God within you. You love yourself. There's self-respect there. There's God, respect for God within you. I love all humanity. I acknowledge it in everything. I love all humanity in all things. Join hearts and souls together. Join the physical and spiritual world together. May all beings unite in harmony. Universal love, peace, harmony. Love, peace, harmony. It's a powerful mantra. So if this resonates with you, please share it. Practice it. And if it doesn't, just drop it. That's totally fine. But yeah, we're living in a historical time. The ancients pointed to this time as the great time of change, and future generations will look back. This is a big time. And it's a beautiful time. It's not about scraping by. It's about finding out who we are, the power we have individually and collectively, and then using that power to benefit all beings. That is what this time is about. And it's unique because rather than reaching individual enlightenment, we have the potential and possibility to reach universal enlightenment, where we literally thrive and see a completely different world, one that we probably can't even imagine now. That is possible in this life, and that's what we need to align with instead of being stuck in fear. But do something, okay? Do something good. I love you all. Take care.